All right, hi everybody. We're just waiting here briefly until 10 o'clock and then we'll get started and go through self-funded pensions and some ideas and stats around annuities and introductions and all that fun stuff. So, all right, we got a good crew here. I do want to start by just, saying thank you. Thank you for everyone taking the time out of your day to get on our webinar and learn and work on your business so you can help your clients. This is fantastic. I also want you to know that anything that we discussed today or anything outside of today regarding annuities, I am here to help you on a one-on-one basis, whether it's virtual, over the phone, or in person, as well as Sam. Sam is my internal partner. So Jennifer Wick here, for those that don't know me, I'm the external annuity wholesaler at IFC, been here for just over 5 years, and Sam Stenson is my internal partner who took over for Lou Phillip, and Sam has just had his 1-year anniversary. So you got a team here. We're here to help support you, anything and everything annuities. Our primary goal is really to help you succeed in all ways and shapes and forms, but us specifically annuities. And so when it comes to case design, right, finding the right solution for your clients when we're solving for guaranteed income or protected growth, running quotes, marketing material, education, training, I mean, you name it. We got you covered, we got your back, okay? We want to take as much work off your plate as we can so you can do what you do best, identify those clients, stay in front of your clients, sell the business, write the business. That increases your revenue and your retention. So what you all have is a book of business with clients that know, like, and trust you, right? And so if you're already working with them with one or other lines of business, why aren't we adding in the annuity line? To do what I just said, increase that revenue, increase that retention, reduce the risk of losing that client and other lines of business. So just want to put that out there. We're going to get into it here. So I want to start by, hopefully everyone can see my screen. Well, if you have any questions throughout, feel free to throw it in the chat and we will address those as well, likely at the end. But let me start with this. So before we get into just concepts and how we figure out income and things like that, for those of you that are already contracted with us, you hopefully have registered on our website and are registered to get our newsletter every week. But on our website, if you hover over solutions and then go to annuities, you're going to find you'll have some access to a couple of different tools and different marketing material and a ton of other information. So Annuity Rate Watch is what we're going to look at today. This is a tool accessible to you at no charge. And then we also have Firelight, which is an electronic application platform. I highly encourage everybody to do their annuity business this way. It's most efficient and leaves little room for error. Gets you paid quicker as well, which is great. If we scroll down here, I want to point out a couple other things. We got some access to links to other calculators such as Social Security, RMDs, and whatnot down here. Illustration requests can go through here or send us an email directly. But also down here, you guys can use this material to help, help identify opportunities with your clients. So we have different fact finders here and some just different marketing materials. And, keep looking out here because we're going to expand this as well. But what I want to point out is one of these retirement expense worksheets, because this is going to really complement identifying income gaps or shortfalls for clients that maybe have all these different sources of income maybe coming in. Call it $2,500, but then they have $3,000 in fixed expenses, so we're looking to solve for $500 more a month or $6,000 a year. These sheets are fillable, right? And so you can use these with your clients and complete that to, again, identify where there's a need and what that need is in terms of income, okay? So that is out there for you. Now what we're going to do here is I want to look at just some stats around annuities. So annuities, over the course have had some negative connotations. It depends on who you ask about annuities. Maybe people had a bad experience, got bad information, maybe didn't understand, whatever have you. I'm a believer in annuities. I fully support annuities. And if you ever talk to clients and you bring up the A word and they have some negative experience with it, I would encourage you to ask them if they plan on filing for Social Security or, you know, if they have a pension. Not many people have pensions anymore. I think I have an article we're going to talk or look at too that shows about 17% of people have access to pensions. Now it's pretty much all 401k, and they're looking at building annuities into 401ks. This is how popular annuities have become. But I encourage you to ask those questions, because pensions as well as Social Security are both annuities. They're guaranteed paychecks for somebody's life. So we can do the exact same thing on our own by self-funding an annuity, which is what I call as a self-funded pension. And there is a lot of options out there to choose from. I'm talking hundreds. And so it's important to have a team behind you that can shop the market for you and figure out what is the best solution based on each individual's client situation, because I think we all know nobody's situation is identical to the next, and annuities also are not identical. They're not a one-size-fits-all. So we'll get into that as well. Before we do that, here on my screen, LIMRA, which is a Life Insurance Marketing and Research Association, been around since 1916. So over 100 years they've been giving us very, very powerful research around insurance, annuities, life, and all that. Now, here what we're seeing is just looking at annuity sales over the course back to 2019, and you can see, you know, sizable annuity sales, 242 billion, little drop there in 2020. I think we kind of know why with COVID. But then from there, there's been record-breaking years consecutively up through 2024. And with 2025, still numbers haven't fully came in yet. They are expecting to be around 450 billion and hover there or up to 5 billion or more over the next, or not, sorry, not billion, or yeah, 5 billion a year going forward. So if this doesn't tell you anything, the one thing it should tell you is that people are understanding annuities, they're buying annuities, they want annuities, and this is why we're seeing this major uptick in annuity sales. So this, you guys, is public information. You can Google this, and then of course, if you scroll through, there's a lot more other information. It shows, you know, market concentration by product and things like that. So feel free to kind of look over that, or if you want these links, I can send them out to you. In addition to that, here's another article. This is a very, I think, key point here that I'm sure all of us have heard and seen, whether we wanted to or not, but we have a ton of people aging, right? Turning 65 every single day, 10,000 or more a day, which probably triggers you to wonder what's going to happen with Social Security. Of course, a lot of people rely on Social Security for income and retirement. But we don't know what the viability of that is moving forward. And I'm not going to speculate on that. Everyone, to each their own, can think what they want on that. And this is why we need to really think about annuities for income purposes to complement Social Security or whatever might happen there. There's been a lot of surveys and studies done out there that people are more afraid of outliving their assets in retirement than they are of dying. That's kind of wild to me, but I also completely understand it. Here's the deal. You have a bunch of money in the market in risky investments. You take a hit, right? With the volatility, the market downturns that are unknown, you take a 10, 15, 20% loss and you're about to retire. Guess what? You're gonna have to do one of two things here. You're gonna have to either work longer or spend less in retirement. Those are your only two options. So, you know, it's important to kind of work in a hedge to mitigate that risk using an annuity, whether it's for growth or income. But I think that was kind of an interesting fact there. 80% of Americans fear running out of money in retirement, and rightfully so. People are just not saving enough money. Unfortunately, it says down here, if you look at this year, quarter baby boomers only have $200,000 or more for retirement. So the likeliness of them running out of money in retirement is obviously huge. It shows that here, Social Security payments typically only cover not even half of your retirement income. So you can see why people are concerned about that. Let's talk about life expectancy. Longevity risk is very real, right? We don't know how long we're going to live, so why aren't we buying things, vehicles, you know, that are going to solve for that? If you look back here, 1980, people were expected to live till around age 71. Now, fast forward a year, currently life expectancy is 85. 65-year-old woman has a 31% chance of living to age 90. And I think we all know people that are living into their hundreds. I'm seeing articles about it every single day, I feel like. 105, 103, 101. I mean, that's crazy. So you know, retire at 65, 70 years old, you're living in retirement for 30 plus years. And then you factor in inflation, Medicare and health costs. This can really erode your retirement. So it's important to look at ways that we can mitigate some of these risks. So here's where we go next. So Sam and I, we work with agents and advisors every single day. Income is very definitive around the parameters of the client in their case. And what I mean by that is some carriers are going to be really good at increasing income, level income, max income. We'll look at some illustrations around those different payouts. But the client's age now, when they're planning to start income, are we running income on a single life person or single life or a joint life? Anytime we do a joint life income, we're going to take a reduction in payment, but it's going to pay second to die. Okay. There's also additional features and benefits that come with annuities that we don't have with pensions and Social Security. So I want to touch on that as well. We do a lot of pension rollovers, and what people don't understand are some things around pensions and what they're giving up when they take the payout. So typically when someone has a pension, they have an opportunity to either take a lump sum of money and they can roll it and do whatever they want, roll it into an annuity. It's going to roll over tax-free, and then we can set up income payments on the annuity, right? Otherwise, they'll have an option to take a payout from the pension. Couple things you want to be aware of. Number one, who's the company that this is with? Are they going to be around for the next 20, 30, 40 years, right? That's an unknown, but that's something you need to consider, because if they become insolvent, guess what? There goes your income. Number two, you take a single life or a joint life payout, that is an annuitization, which is different than lifetime income riders. What I mean by this is you're going into a fixed settlement payment arrangement with the company. And let's say you take out joint life for you and your spouse, and 2 months into it, you guys get in a car accident and you die. Guess what happens to the balance of those monies? They're gone, poof. Company keeps them, okay? So you're giving up a death benefit. What happens if you take this income and all of a sudden, oh, life happens, daughter had a house fire, she needs help, I need, whatever the case is. You need to tap into those monies. Well, too bad so sad, you can't. Those monies are tied up and locked up. Growth opportunity. No, you get some fixed interest built into those payments. That's what you get. The balance that's still sitting in, that's not being paid out, that's not growing at all, okay? So those few things we are giving up by taking that pension payout. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It might make sense for some clients. Typically, you'll see a pretty solid paycheck. And what I mean by that, a high paycheck, but they don't realize what they're giving up, and no one's out there educating them on that, okay? So let's take this lump sum from the pension, let's roll it into an annuity, and let's look at what kind of payments that we can get off of that. So that's what I'm going to show you here in a minute, not to mention the additional benefits that come with it. So we're not giving up a death benefit because we're not annuitizing, okay? You still have flexibility to access monies if something were to happen, okay? You might have a penalty, you may not, but you can still access it. That's the point here. And then on top of that, you still have growth without the market risk. Zero's your hero in this case. Very low cost, on average about 1% comes right out of your contract, doesn't affect the income payments. And then you're gonna get some potential growth on that. You know, and I'm very conservative again, okay? We're probably somewhere between 3 and 5%, but nonetheless, it's growth, okay? And really where that matters is in terms of the legacy play, the death benefit, okay? So let's look at this a little bit more in depth. So again, this particular tool is Annuity Rate Watch, but this is only internal facing. So Sam and I have to run these quotes for you. So when you have an income case, what we need to know is we need to know the client's name. We need to know the age of the client now. We need to know, are we looking at single or joint life income? And if it's joint, we need the spouse's age. We can always run both so you can see the comparison. we need to know what state you're doing the business in. We have a national footprint here at IFC. I have advisors down in Florida, California, Jersey, Chicago. I mean, they're everywhere. So we need to know the state that you're doing the business in, and you have to be licensed in that state to do the business. When it comes to the income, we can do things a couple ways. I would say 99% probably of the quotes that we run, people come to us and say, hey, my client's got $200,000, you know, they're 65, want to retire at 67, you know, what can we get? That's the majority of the cases that we do. However, we can also, by using maybe that retirement expense worksheet or some other sort of fact finder, maybe you have one, look at all of their monies coming in, inflows, outflows, and if there's a shortfall, right? Maybe there's a shortfall of $500 a month. So we need to solve for $6,000 a year. We can do that. So that's kind of what we do there. So if you know, either way, we got you covered, is my point. And then we need to know too when they're going to start taking that income, because we can tell you on a guaranteed basis, if we stick with the plan of taking income at said time, this paycheck they're going to get is going to be guaranteed, period. It cannot change. You write the app, lock it in, turn on the income when we say, it's going to go out just as planned. If we change course and defer income later than planned or take it earlier, that's going to affect the payout. Okay, so know that. Again, all of this stuff I can take offline with you. I can come out and visit with you. We can sit down and dive in as deep as you want to, and I'll make sure that you feel very, very comfortable having these client conversations. In addition to that, I do want to touch on the fact that if it's something that you see opportunity here, but you don't want to do it yourself and do the education, find, you know, sit down with a client, do the meeting, write the application, do the training, all that good stuff. We have concierge, Don Teagues, that can come out and do all that stuff for you, and that would be a comp split. So just keep that in mind. I'm sure you've seen his face if you've been on these webinars before. He's awesome and a great resource to you. All right, so here's what we're going to look at. I already put in some information in this tool. I plugged in $100,000. On a 65-year-old client taking income at age 70. So you can see that up here. So we got all that. I just did a single client for this. And then taking income at 70, so we can kind of see what that looks like. So here's how we identify where to go with it. We end up getting this list of all the carriers, starting with the top carrier with the highest income, and then it goes down from there. Part of the reason we don't have this external facing is because there's a lot to this. All of these carriers do things, you know, their own way. And what I mean by that, there's carriers that have, and I mentioned this earlier, income that's going to start lower but increases every year based on variance. Carriers that your first paycheck you get that throughout, you know, your lifetime, it will not change. And then carriers that you get a really high paycheck that starts out, but once the account value goes to zero, it's going to be reduced. Okay. And these are things people just wouldn't know by looking at this. In addition to that, these annuities have additional features and benefits that, again, your pensions don't have, nor does Social Security, such as multipliers for long-term care purposes. So when it comes to long-term care, clearly that's a concern for most of us. Traditional long-term care has fallen to the wayside. So I'm going to plug right now, there's hybrid long-term care annuities and life insurance that you can purchase more so specifically for long-term care, but you're not giving up all the things you would with traditional. But then also with these annuities that I'm talking about today, we're buying these for income. We're not buying these for long-term care. I really want you to understand that. However, they have additional features to help pay for long-term care costs should you qualify, where they will bump your payment up by 1.5 or 2 times for a period of time to help pay for those costs. Of course, you do need to qualify, and every carrier's qualifications are different. There's typically a deferral period of, you know, anywhere from 1 to 5 years. And then there has to be an account value, and then some are confinement, some are 2 of 6 ADLs, some are cognitive impairment. So it's going to vary there, and again, that's where we come in, okay? But this is kind of the chart we see that can help us determine where to quote this out. When we run quotes, we have to go to the carrier to run the quotes, as would you. So you can do it on your own, otherwise you can lean on us and we can do it for you. The other thing I want to show you is this. This is super cool in my opinion. This is a new thing the tool has, and I can send this out to you as well. So this is what we call a heat map. So you can see all the carriers here, right? And it shows you and highlights in red who's the highest income in these different, durations, okay? So if we're taking income right away at 65, this is going to be your top carrier, but that's not a level payment. I know that because I know how that product works. Same with this carrier. If we look down here, MassMutual Ascend, you can see where they come in. They're a levelized payment, Equitrust, so on and so forth. So I'm not going to get into all the details here, but you can kind of see at a glance what company wins. So this is pretty cool as well. You can see where they compare from one to the next. Now, what else I want to look at is I want to look at a couple of different quotes and show you that. So when we put the rubber to the road here and determine what carrier is going to make sense for that client, I ran a couple just generic illustrations here for you guys to see today. Let me see. So first off, here's one with American General, AIG, formerly, which is now Corebridge, okay? This is gonna show you one of their products with a level income. And this shows you a client at 65, putting in $100,000, taking income at age 70. And what we're seeing here is, in this case, this client is able to get a paycheck. This is an annual paycheck. You can take it monthly, divide it by 12. $11,543. So just almost $1,000 a month. That's guaranteed for the rest of their life. So you can see it's going to pay out here. If the quote went past 95, you would see the payments continue. Let's say they live, till 95. You can see here what they've got out on a cumulative basis. So $300,000. Put in 100, 25 years later of income, we got $300,000 out. Client passes away anytime. As long as there's a death benefit left here, going to pay out to your beneficiaries. Once we deplete that, there's no legacy here. This is an income play, okay? So this is more of your levelized income and what that looks like. Now, if we look at a couple other quotes here, I got, again, this is Corebridge. So same carrier as the one we just looked at. This is that one that has the max income, where they're going to give you a really high paycheck up front, but once the account value goes to zero, the payment's going to decrease to a fixed amount that we're going to know ahead of time. So this here, same deal, 65-year-old taking income at 70 using $100,000. You can see those payments. They drop off, what is that, 7-ish years in or so. In the end, age 95, if they live beyond, again, 95, they'll continue to get the $8,700. But if they happen to pass away at that time, they then have gotten back, just shy of $260,000 with a $100,000 investment, okay? Again, same story, death benefit, if they pass and there's still value left, all right? And then the other one I want to show you here is going to be with Allianz. Allianz does increasing income really, really well. Most people can't stomach the fact that they're going to take a lower paycheck up front because they don't realize the benefit over the course, and cumulatively they can come out ahead. Now, it's not necessarily guaranteed where you're going to get increases in your paycheck, but we can set it up where you would have a guaranteed increase in your paycheck. That's something we'll take offline. I really want to stick to more of the concept here, working in guaranteed income for your clients, right? This is such a huge concern for people, as we've already talked about. We have access to tools we can help our clients solve for that risk and that need. So why aren't we doing that? Not to mention the additional revenue it's going to put in your pocket. I'll touch on that in a minute. But here's Allianz. Again, 65-year-old client, $100,000, taking income at 70. Pay attention to this column over here. Their first paycheck is $83.60. Okay, we saw the other numbers with max income and level income and the difference there. But here's what's cool. Every time we have positive index returns, the paycheck steps up. Okay, if we have no return, it does not negatively impact your paycheck. Your paycheck stays the same. And then as you can see, we go on here, oh, look, age 95. Well, now we've gotten out about $335,000. Now this is hypothetical based on historical returns over the last 10 years. last 10 calendar years repeating of the S&P 500 that is capped in this case. So with these products, you're not getting all the upside of the index. You're limited. These are conservative products, conservative returns, really with no market risk at all. You can't go backwards. Zero's your hero. Okay. So again, there's 1,000 ways to skin the cat. Let us help you figure that out. And when we do this stuff, you guys, we're gonna walk through all of this with you. We'll go through the illustration. We'll get you the supporting material. Make sure that you are set up for a successful meeting. And if you need us to be on a call, or if I need to come out and sit in a meeting or jump on a Zoom, happy to do that. I want you to win. This is important to me. I'm very passionate about what I do and what these annuities can do for your clients. I just want to touch on comp really quick, you guys. So when we do write business, we'll get you appointed with a company. You do got to get some product training under your belt. We'll send you all of that. We'll make sure you got what you need to write the business. You can go and do the business electronically on our website. Compensation typically on these products is 6 to 7%. These are 10-year FIAs for the most part. All the ones I showed you were. And these are all a 7% commission up to a certain age. Typically it goes up to 75, and then generally after that there's a drop where the commission will be reduced because of life expectancy. So carriers factor that stuff in when they're pricing out these products as well. But all that comp pays directly to you from the carrier. We don't take a haircut, but that could be a nice little stream of additional revenue for you. And I don't really think there's any harm in asking your clients, hey, you know, is income in retirement a concern? Or here's the question. Here's the question. This actually I got from one of my advisors years ago. She asked every single one of her clients, how much income in retirement would you like to have guaranteed? And maybe you should ask yourself that. Because I know me, I'd like all of it guaranteed. Well, the only way we can guarantee any income on our own is by using an annuity. It is the only vehicle that does that. No other vehicle. So I think this is very powerful. I think we need to be having these conversations. I think you're doing a disservice to yourself if you're not at least asking the question. Let your client say no, rather than come back to you and find out later that you could have offered these products, but just never said anything. And then also keep this in mind. You know, there are financial advisors out there that work with broker dealers that can sell these products. Not all of them are believers. Not all of them understand them nor want to understand them. Not to mention they are limited on what they can sell. They don't have access to all the products. They have access to what their broker dealer says they can sell. So you, if you're an insurance only agent, you have access to all fixed index annuities and fixed annuities. Okay. And we have over 30 companies we represent across the US. So keep that in mind. Sometimes you might have a client that is working with somebody. I would encourage you to ask them to get, let you give them a second opinion, because you might have something that can give them a higher paycheck than what they have seen or have access to. So anyway, I hope that everyone got some good information out of this webinar today. This will be recorded and on the website. And, like I said, if you all want to further discuss, schedule time with me, please reach out to myself or Sam. Just so you know, our contact information is right here. You got my phone number. You can click here to email me. I'm Jennifer at ifcnationalmarketing.com. It's my cell phone. You can call me direct. Sam is Sam at ifcnationalmarketing.com. Phone number here. We're both here to help you. Call us or email us anytime. If we need to schedule time, let's do that. Let's get you set up. Let's get you educated so you can start offering these products to your clients. I do want to check in here. If anyone has any questions. I don't see, let's see. I see someone asked, what is income credit? Well, I don't know if I fully understand the question. I would love to talk to you offline so we can dive into that. But the income, just to kind of touch on this briefly, we really need to know the client's age and when they want to start taking income, if we're running it on 1 or 2 lives. Then we can identify where to go. The carriers price out their products accordingly, and we can talk about that offline too, but you're going to have a payout percentage based on the client's age when they start taking income that they multiply against an income value in most cases. And an income value usually has a guaranteed step up or roll up every year you defer. And usually the payout percentage will step up every year you defer income. Once you get to the point you start income, they take that payout percentage and multiply it against your income value, and that's how they determine the paycheck. And then that paycheck's gonna pay out for the rest of your life, or you and your spouse's life. So that's very high level, but happy to discuss that more in depth, and then any other questions that come up as well. But yeah, we've hit our 10:30 mark. I do want to be respectful of your guys' time, so I appreciate y'all jumping on here and listening. I hope you had a couple nuggets you took away from this. And again, happy to spend some time with you one-on-one to go more in depth and figure out how we can, best support you in the annuity space. So thanks everyone for joining. Hope you have a great day. Look forward to working with you and talking to you soon.